Good morning and welcome to another episode of Alabama Care. I am Lane Hagan and I have with me Mr. Matt Holdbrooks with Kid One Transport. Matt, would you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I'm Matt Holdbrooks, Kid One Transport. Been here 9.5 years, just in a few days here, and so been a pleasure to serve Kid One. Been one of the neat experiences in my professional career.
Well, that's terrific. Tell us more about Kid One. Tell us about how it was founded, when it was founded, and just the history there.
Yeah, big story there. So a lot to unravel there. The organization was founded based on from a firefighter that went on a call. A Hoover firefighter went on a call back in the earlier 90s, and he had a situation with a child that he couldn't revive the child. And it caused him to do a lot of volunteer work and other things to get through some of the grief. And Russell came up with the concept of Kid One Transport from some volunteer work and some of the things that he saw in the rural communities of the state. The need for transportation to healthcare and the lack of kids being able to get there and parents being able to get them to quality health care or necessary health care because they didn't have transportation. Mm-hmm. And so Russell started the organization officially in '97. We're in our 25th year of providing transportation services in the state, and founded some great relationships and a lot of trial and error by him to get the organization started. But he, incredible story, incredible legacy. Just, can't say enough about him and his involvement. But Kid One Transport exists for one primary purpose. That is to transport children and expectant mothers to health care. And we've been doing it for the past 25 years. And 437,000 transports later. And Russell started with just
awesome.
He facilitated the first transport himself. And so here we are, 437,000 later, serving around 50,000 clients during that time. And so, and have transported within 53 counties of the state during that time frame.
So what role does Russell have now?
So Russell doesn't have an official role. Russell left the organization, I think it was in 2005. Russell doesn't have an official title or a role with the organization, but he and I converse on a regular basis. I consider him a great resource. He's very invested still in the organization, and so I share with him and talk to him. And one of the things that we even had him early on when I came on, interviewed about our strategic planning process and going back to the original vision. Mm-hmm. And what his concept was. And I know the other two previous executive directors, there's been four of us, Tracy Bennett Smith and Karen Peterlin, both had Russell engaged during their tenure as well.
Awesome. How many staff composes Kid One?
Currently, we're running with a staff of 19. Pre-COVID, we were sitting at 25, 26. Things changed a little bit during that time frame in various capacities, and we're like several organizations right now. We'd like to have a few more staff people, and we'd like to have a few more transport team members, and then we're looking for a couple of transport team members to help us grow our reach a little bit. Correct.
Right. I think everybody echoed that. I mean, I can't think of any industry that's not hurting for employees these days. What does the board look like?
Yeah, got a great board. We've got a board of about 25 board members, 25 individuals, community leaders, folks involved in healthcare, law, finance, accounting, we try to have a diversified board that reflects the community we serve. We try to, encompass a board that in the 37 counties we primarily serve. We're not always successful at doing that, and we represent probably about 6 to 8 counties currently, and try to have a diverse board though, male, female, occupation, race, gender, just across the board. So we have different perspectives, especially
absolutely.
when we're looking at growth and strategic planning and things of that nature.
Yeah, I agree. One of the most important relationships I believe that y'all possess is with Mercedes-Benz. Tell us where that came from, what it looks like today. I mean, I know probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I probably saw my first Kid One transport vehicle around town, and it was a Mercedes, and I was like, wow, that's really neat. And I started noticing everyone I saw was Mercedes. So I was like, that's got to be an amazing partnership that y'all have.
We are, Kid One's incredibly blessed because of the relationship with Mercedes-Benz. 25 years that they've been involved with the organization since our inception. Linda Sewell at that time was the first boots on the ground individual for Mercedes, if I'm correct. Connected with Russell. They built that relationship. They were looking for how they're going to get involved in the community. Russell's obviously looking for a partner, especially for vehicles. And they've been providing us several vehicles in our fleet for the past 25 years. I think currently we have either 10 or 11, I think it's 11 vehicles in our fleet that are Mercedes. We do have some other vehicles in our fleet besides Mercedes, but those are the prominent ones and the ones that take up the majority of our fleet. And I say this, without Mercedes, without their involvement, that 437,000 transports would be minimal, be a totally different situation. They do a great job taking care of the maintenance, the vehicles, just great corporate supporters, and kind of neat for us both to be celebrating our 25th years.
That is incredible. That you love hearing stories like that, and I'm glad to hear that one. So how many total vehicles make up the fleet? I know you said 11 Mercedes, but what outside of that do we have?
So we've got, I think we have currently 19 vehicles in our total fleet. And so I think that's correct. And we have several vehicles that are vans, wheelchair accessible vans, vans that have, some that have ramps, some that have lifts and things of that nature. And then some that are large capacity vehicles just can carry more individuals.
Now, are y'all all the vehicles based in Birmingham and then make the commute across the state, or do you have different locations that they're kind of stationed?
Great question, Lane. A lot of folks, that's what not going, okay, how do you guys go to Utah and how do you guys get to Phoenix City if you're based in Birmingham? So this is an operational hub, and only an operational hub. We do have a majority of our transports do happen in Jefferson metro area, in Birmingham metropolitan area. About 58%, 60% of our transports are local within this region. However, we have drivers who are staged throughout the state, and when they get up in the morning to start their day, sometimes at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and start making transports, pick up folks to come to Birmingham for specialty care, they get in their office, and when they start that vehicle, their office has their computers kicked on for the day.
Yeah.
And the GPS system communicates to them their turn by turn for several pickups of the day. It gives them their manifest, walks them through their several pickups, and then they also have a hard copy or paper copy of the manifest. Then also have a email version that they have on their phone. So if they ever have a failure, they can use their phone and use it directionally to get to their pickups as well.
So you said y'all have served 53 counties, correct? So that would leave, 14, I believe, that have, or what would that leave? 10 counties, I think?
14.
That are, okay.
It would be 14.
How do you get into those last 14? I mean, 53 is incredible, but...
So we're currently in 37 that we serve primarily, and there's counties that we have served over the years, and we made arrangements to pick up someone, maybe just across the county line. Say, if it's a county that we don't typically serve, we would make arrangements to pick up someone on the county line, or at addressable locations at McDonald's, or a Walmart, or something of that nature that is a safe location we could pick up if they can get transport to that location. To give you an idea of where we are, we're currently, everything on the eastern side of the state, all the counties running down to Russell County, all the way up to state with the exception of Jackson County, the Tennessee line, we're in Limestone, Madison, Morgan, those areas. And then we're not in the western counties, in the Shoals area, and all the counties are on the western side against the Mississippi line. Tuscaloosa, Greene would be as far west as we go, and then as far south would be Wilcox, Dallas, below Lowndes County, some counties there. So we have some areas there that we'd like to be in. It's a matter of resources.
Yeah.
And it's a matter if we could be in all 67 counties in the state, we'd be there. Not sure logistically how that would work from Mobile to the Shoals, but that's the ultimate goal.
Gotcha. But we're only in Alabama, right? We can't
Yes,
take
sir.
anybody outside of the states. Okay. Yeah.
That's correct.
I know that could probably open up a whole nother box of issues if you do that. So if someone needs services, how do they go about requesting them? How do they, what are the eligibility requirements?
Great question. A lot of times get asked the eligibility requirements, and I say, hey, there's not one. And they say, okay, don't have a financial, don't have this, don't have that. I say, no. If you tell us you have a barrier to transportation to health care, we'll transport you. And barriers to transportation to health care services are different across the state for different people. Sometimes there's people in rural Alabama that don't have the gas to get to maybe Birmingham or Montgomery or Huntsville for specialty care. Maybe they don't have a car that's roadworthy. Car that's temporarily out of service that need a service temporarily. It could be a family that only has one vehicle and someone's going to work and earning a living and keeping insurance for the family, and then there's a chronically sick child at home that needs attention that the other caregivers bring them to the appointments. Situations where there's a need for a wheelchair vehicle, handicap accessible vehicle, either for the caregiver or for the child or whoever may be involved with that transport, when they don't have access to those. We've had families that been legally blind, and both parents are legally blind, and so we transport those families because we're able to take curb to curb, and navigating buses with small kids is a challenge.
Yeah.
But vast majority of our folks that we transport are in poverty and just have a need because they either in poverty or just don't have access to vehicle or don't have a vehicle. Vast majority of our folks are economically challenged. So I think it's 87% of our clients report to us they have a household income of less than $20,000 a year. And to carry that a step further, 74% communicate to us they have a household income of less than $10,000 a year. So, the ability to own, operate, fuel, insure a vehicle is just not within their realm.
Absolutely. So if someone needs a ride, what website, phone call, how do they request it?
All the above.
Okay.
So our website is www.kid1.org. You can go on and request services. You can apply for services. You can actually request a transport once you become a client. It's an email directly to us, through the secure email, and then we're able to pull down all the information, enroll a client, get them scheduled for the transportation. And typically once we get a request online, an application, it's within a day that we're calling them back, communicating with them that we've got them scheduled, we've got them as a client, and now we're going to have them scheduled. We find though, we get a tremendous amount online, but we also find that a lot of them are referred to us by healthcare partners. We work with somewhere around 800 different healthcare partners in the state. And, for individual one physician clinic to robust facilities such as Children's of Alabama. But we find the referral is that they've seen that, hey, this client's miss appointments. They're having to say, hey, they don't know when they schedule the next one. They need a follow-up appointment, something of that nature. And then they refer them to Kid One. And sometimes they don't sign them up for Kid One right then. They'll go online with them and schedule it. They'll sign them up and schedule their first transport, etc. We have many facilities that when they're trying to schedule the next transport, will pick up the phone and call us and say, hey, we need to bring the Smith family back. Can you do it Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning? Which works better? And then they'll schedule, and makes it a very good situation for us, because then we can move into the manifest and plug holes and make it work for all parties.
That's incredible that there's facilities that would do full service stuff like that, because I know sometimes it's, from a parent standpoint, it can be very frustrating. It doesn't feel like you're battling some of the staff while the doctor's on your side. You may be battling a nurse. So that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. What percentage do you think of your transports are to children's?
Oh, goodness. I would say probably around 30%, maybe a little higher than that to Children's Alabama, maybe up to 35%. And that's to their various clinics throughout the state, of course. They're from Huntsville and Montgomery as well. And I may be missing, they may be further south than that, but the specialty clinics, as well as their regular primary care clinics as well.
And I'm assuming y'all get a lot of repeat clients. So, you got to go to the doctor every 3 months for this specialty. You got to go every 6 months for this specialty. So I imagine you're getting a bunch that are saying, hey, I've got this one now. Can I get you again in a few months? It's repeat customers, right?
We do. We have a lot of repeats, and a lot of families that use us. If you have a transportation issue, and it's for your regular primary care, and then there's a situation, they're a chronically sick child in the family situation, but then we talk about vision, we talk about dental, so there's mental health. If there's an injury, there's physical rehab. This is repeat business. So there is, once our clients use us, we find they stay with us for quite a while until their situation improves or changes. And that's what we're for. We're hopeful that we can move everyone away from having to utilize Kid One transport.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. So what does the yearly budget look like for Kid One, and where does a lot of that money come from?
So our budget's about $1.4 million. It is money that Kid One finds, communicates, work with, secures through various opportunities. We receive about 20% of our budget back, a little bit less than that, probably about 15 to 18% of our budget back on the Medicaid transports that we facilitate for children that are Medicaid eligible. And that's about 91% of our clients that we serve, 91 to 93% are Medicaid eligible. However, their reimbursement, just because, it's for transportation services, only covers X amount of our total budget. But we raise money from individuals, from corporations, from foundations, governmental entities, cities, counties, got great partners in the state and funding that comes through us through various sources there. Children's Trust Fund of Alabama, Department of Public Health supports us as well. And then we're able to apply for some grants, state and federal grants that support us as well. So a variety, we got civic, we got religious organizations, it's across the board. It's a very diverse fund support group.
How many yearly fundraisers do y'all do, and then what do those look like? Obviously I know about the Diamond Gala we were present for, but tell us about each one.
Yeah, so we don't have a tremendous amount of fundraising events that we run. We have several events that are ran for us, put on for us, that we're a part of. One that's coming up in December, and it's kind of co-branded. The Alabama Theater puts on an event for us. The Polar Express movie is shown in a part of their Christmas series. And so those guys have been great partners with us. And then the Centerpoint Fire District puts on an annual golf tournament that we're very blessed to be a part of in the summer. And then we also receive the benefit from the Irish Cultural Society dinner every spring. And those guys they do a great job putting on an event and then funding Kid One transport with the funds. But then we do have events. We have a junior board puts on a top golf event that's around Cinco de Mayo. a great event for the young professionals to participate in. We have our Diamonds for Life Gala. It was a neat event this year. We got to celebrate our 25th anniversary. Our Trick or Trot event is actually coming up next month, and so just a few weeks away. That Back 40 Birmingham hosts for us, and fun 5K event. You can be as competitive as you want, or you can come out and dress up and even welcome dogs on leashes and strollers. Strollers don't have to be on a leash, but it's a fun event. They put a great job on for us, and have a enjoyable time at Back 40 on that Saturday, October 22nd.
All right. So I think we'd all admit that COVID-19 was a very big changing point for everybody. I know we already talked about kind of the employees have changed a little bit. You lost a few. But what other impacts did it have on Kid One?
Wow. COVID was impactful to everyone. COVID, when everyone started shutting down, we looked at ourselves and say, we as an organization, we've got to make some decisions. And we made decisions to continue to stay open. I spent a lot of time with our executive committee and a lot of meetings, a lot of telephone meetings, I guess you would say, conference calls rather. But we remained open because one of the things that we saw was critical need still continued.
Yeah.
Dialysis still had to happen 3 times a week. Chemotherapy still had to happen. Expectant moms that had complicated pregnancies still had to get to the OB. And so we continue operating. Our volume dropped to 20% of our normal volume within just, a couple weeks. Rebounded by the end of the year, and we did 55% of our normal volume that year. We typically do about 23,000 transport a year, and we did 12,000 both in 20 and 21. But those critical appointments continued. And it was kind of neat looking at who we were as an organization. It really reconnected us in that vital, critical. You got vulnerable people that need to get to essential medical service, and we were there, and we continue. We never shut down the office. We took protocols. We put all of our drivers in protocol. Sanitation of vehicles. Respectfulness of mask and disinfectant and gloves and all those things in the vehicle. Asking the questions when they scheduled appointments and the questions on the callbacks the day before, and then the morning of callbacks again to confirm there wasn't a COVID diagnosis or exposure during that time. Continued, and we continue working on those same things today. We keep those things in place because we think they're still critical. Yeah. We may have seen the pandemic change, but we don't want to expose a child that's going through chemo or dialysis or something of that nature to someone who's got COVID.
Did y'all have to make any changes to the vehicles? Did you have to put in barriers and stuff like that?
We did not. We relied more on our larger capacity vehicles because our sheer numbers had changed to about 20% early on, and then up to 55%. We were able to utilize vehicles and keep less people on the vehicles. We like having full vehicles because it makes us more efficient. Right. Obviously, when we go into a geographical area and we can fill a vehicle, we're much more efficient than picking up just one individual. It's a great utilization of our resources, especially when fuel prices are astronomical high earlier in this year. But we didn't have to change that, but we was able to keep everyone safe. Everyone is required to mask on vehicle and still are required to mask on vehicle unless there's just a physical condition where they can't be masked on the vehicle.
Gotcha. So with that, let's talk about a success story. Give me one or give me a few. I think clearly 25 years is incredible, but obviously there's some that probably touched you and touched the organization a little bit more than some others. Yeah.
So a couple, referencing earlier in the conversation about if we could get to a county line or to an addressable location to pick someone up. And so this is right at the start of my tenure 9 years ago. We had we were not serving the Lee, Russell, and Chambers County area. But we had a young man that had been diagnosed. He was born prematurely, but then at 7 months, he was diagnosed with liver cancer. So, the hardest thing is to say, hey, getting your arms around a 7-month-old having cancer already, really challenging. And so they needed Kid One badly. And so we were picking that family up at the McDonald's in Dadeville on Highway 280.
Yeah.
If anyone's driven 280, they know what McDonald's is.
Absolutely.
And so we picked up a young man and brought him back and forth for about a year to appointments and treatments and things of that nature until he was able to get a new liver. And great success story there, doing great. We still transport the family, thank goodness not as often, but we're bringing them up 3 times a week, and sometimes we were even bringing them because they were having to stay for 4 days a week. They're staying at Ron McDonald House and things. What the great success story to that, though, is the primary care network there that then morphed into the health home that is now the Alabama Care Network Southeast that manages the Medicaid population in the Southeast region of the state, saw the great need for Kid One to be there because of lack of resources for transportation, especially to Birmingham. And so we've been serving that area now for the last 8 years and do somewhere well over 1,000, 1,200 transports annually out of that geographical area. And so great success story working with those guys to put Kid One in place during this time. So, you hate to say great or good thing for a child to go through something of that nature, but the impact's incredible.
Yeah, and that's that area is booming so much. I mean, I think Auburn has become the largest high school in the state. So that area, just all that Auburn, Opelika, Dadeville, Lake Martin area, it's a big growth.
And another one I'll tell you real quickly is family that we served during early on in COVID for a young man that autistic young man, 3-4 years old at the time. His mom had just moved here, single mom, single parent from New Jersey. She was working, trying to take care of him and her and did the things necessary. Didn't have transportation services, and knew something was wrong, but he couldn't communicate effectively what was going on with him. And after several months and visits, they were able to determine that he had a tumor on his kidney. And we were there to help bring that family in and transport that family from the Tuscaloosa area until he's been deemed per se clear right now and doing real well. But that was like in the first month of COVID. It was like April, and it was really, really impactful to have that come out during the COVID. When we're sitting there trying to make decisions about whether we stay open, shut down, what we needed to do.
Yeah.
So
it's a story like that really makes you see the impact and just how you had to keep going and y'all couldn't shut down. So that's incredible. So go the opposite direction. Talk about some struggles. What's one of the biggest day-to-day struggles for Kid One?
Operations is always a challenge. Operations is always a challenge just in that there's always so many moving pieces. And, vehicles break down. Drivers, our transport team members have lives too, and they get sick and they have, health conditions. And then when we're not able to find drivers or we're shorter drivers, the serving areas make it a real challenge. We don't want to deny anyone. And we find that our denial rates runs less than 5%. And so what that means, of 100 phone calls we receive to schedule transportation, we're able to facilitate 95 of those 100. And so we want to keep that rate, and it's a real key metric to us. We know we're doing a good job and being efficient that way. But when we're challenged with staffing, it makes it hard. So it makes operations for all of our team members hard. Finances are always a challenge. Just be real honest with that. Gas prices make a jump, and they go up nearly 100% in an 18-month period.
Yeah.
really stretches our budget. But we didn't deny anything during it. We have to adjust and make different changes. Insurance changes that have gone on since COVID. Significant rise in insurance. So those things always challenge us finding the resources. As I said earlier, we'd like to be in all 67 counties. If we had the resources to be in all 67 counties
Sure.
and secured funding to be in all 67 counties, we'd be there as rapidly as we could.
If someone listening is interested in being a driver, do they just go to the website? Is there an application on there? I mean,
Absolutely. They can call Kid One Transport, 205-978-1000. They can ask to speak to Marcia or Matt, and we can make sure they get an application, or they can send their resume to the Kid One through the Kid One website. There's a contact information there. They can send it to hr@kidone.org. And so there's multiple ways, or they can just call us. And that's the easiest way we can make sure we can hook them up and talk to them about the protocols and what it takes to be a Kid One driver. One of the things about that, I will say, our drivers go through a lot of scrutiny. They go through a lot of training, a lot of informational check, background checks, CPR training, wheelchair safety and securement, operation on lifts, safe driving techniques, defensive driving techniques. We'll send them to classes through the Alabama Department of Transportation. A lot of things our drivers go through to remain on Kid One staff and to serve. And these guys and ladies are just incredible people. Just do a, it's not. They're not doing it just for the dollars. They're doing it because they want to be a service.
right. And that's, you make some really neat relationships when you do stuff like that. And I've been fortunate enough to lead a nonprofit for the past 2 years. And more than anything, I think the most impactful thing to me is just some of these people that I come in contact with daily, and the conversations you get to have and the things you learn about different people. Those are invaluable.
Gives you appreciation for the
Life
diversity of
and
life
everything.
and people and individuals. Absolutely.
Sure does. So let's talk about some goals for Kid One. What the next 6 months, a year look like for you and for the organization, and what you see happening.
Well, normalcy. That'd be a great one to get to.
Isn't that
Getting
the
back
truth?
to, and we're seeing ourselves run from where I said that 20% at the start of COVID to 55% into the last 2 years totals. We're seeing that go back up to 75% of our normal mark. And so we're seeing those transports climb. We're scheduled this year, probably going to hit 16, maybe 17,000 transports. So we'll be pushing that 75% mark, at least 70. Like to see us get back to that 23,000 transports. We'd really like to be, need staff to do that.
Yeah.
But that's because we want to be impactful. And you hate measuring numbers to be impactful, but we know every transport's impactful. But the more transports we do, greater impact to the community and of the state. So those would be the things I'd like to see us in the next year, just growth back to previous.
So let's go from there and say what does 3 years look like? Are we trying to grow to 25,000? What are we doing there?
Yeah, for that, it's always been the goal, and I mentioned this, I think, a couple times during our conversation. Love to be in all 67 counties in the state. Takes the resources to be in all 67 counties in the state. My goal, my vision would be, and I think the boards as well, is looking at it strategically. Where can we be? Where can we add counties? Where can we add service? What makes sense for us? Where can we secure resources that we can add 1 county, 2 county, 3 county? Go back to that Lee Russell Chamber County market and find a partner that we can partner with that can put a transport unit in place. And so maybe we can add a unit in the Shoals area and serve that geographical 3 or 4 county area there where there is health care and robust health care, and make impact in that area of the state. Is there an opportunity for us to revisit our West Alabama, where we've been in the past but had to retract from, and have greater impact for those people in rural Alabama who don't have health care, don't have access to health care, that need to be transported to somewhere many times an hour away to get quality health care.
Yeah, I spent 2 years of my life in Fayette, Alabama, and a lot of the people I came in contact with were making the commute to Tuscaloosa for healthcare. I mean, there was a regional hospital, I believe, which I actually think COVID shut down. So I completely understand a lot of that struggle.
That's one of the biggest challenges in our state is in rural Alabama, children's services. And then when you start talking about the services for expectant mothers, nearly always are traveling over an hour to get services. And when you don't have resources, you're not getting the service that you need. And then the maternal outcomes and then the long-term health and wellness and well-being of that child is compromised.
I think Alabama has one of the lowest or highest issues with pregnancies and with births, and it's just every time I see stats like that, it just makes me cringe.
Our and it's gotten a little better over the last couple of years, but our infant mortality rate has rivaled third world countries.
Yeah.
And it's not just Alabama. We have other states throughout the United States, our very rural states from the south to the west to the north. But it's an issue. And when you're in the USA, you don't expect to have those type of issues.
You shouldn't. Definitely shouldn't. All right, so I always like to kind of end with this final question is, as a Alabama Care and a parent and a member of the community, how can we help Kid One Now be Kid One Transport be successful? How do we help?
You always want to go, the obvious thing is financial help and support. And that is as important, and every gift supports, it takes us in normal gasoline times, or even maybe I guess our current time, it costs about $4.50 to $5 to do a transport. And that's on average when we're coming in from Phoenix City or coming in from Huntsville or coming in from Utah, whatever the case may be, to the ones who are local. But that's an average. And so any gift, if it's $50, you're talking about 10 transports to help fuel our vehicles. And so financial aspect is always helpful. Advocacy, sharing the word, communicating, talking to referral sources that you may be a part of. We always try to connect with not just healthcare providers, but also third-party referrers, community groups, churches, anyone that we can, just to spread the word. Because the knowledge that there's a resource out there to help these families is huge, and it's one of the things that makes a difference then in communities, and then advocacy then to our local governmental officials, advocacy so that they understand, in Utah that hey, Kid One's here and they're doing X number of transports. Can we find a few dollars in our budget to support these guys for the service they're providing here? Those things, I think, just knowledge and understanding of who we are and what we do, and that we're the only nonprofit in the state with this mission, I think is real key.
Yeah, absolutely. I know personally, I think I could probably help a little bit with the advocacy and just sharing the Kid One story, and that it's out here. I talk to special needs parents every day, and we hit most of the state. Primarily, we're in Birmingham, obviously, but I have helped some South Alabama, some North Alabama folks, and I've come across many that, like you said, they are financially strapped, and transportation is an issue. So I definitely can help you with getting the word out and finding a little bit more of these people that need the help. Because the way I look at it is, if we're not finding the families that need the help, we're not successfully achieving our goal as helping anybody and everybody that needs it.
Well, with Alabama Cares and Libby's Friends, what you guys are doing in populations you guys are trying to make an impact with, we want to serve communities, and we do serve that communities. And it's one of those things, those are some of the special situations where we can serve and we can help. If there's a child that needs constant attention, let us be your transportation source. If there's someone that needs wheelchair access, we can be your transportation source. We can help and make those things happen for you guys and get the transports done, facilitate. The ability to own a handicap accessible vehicle
the cost is astronomical.
It's just not there for most families, and so let Kid One be there. Kid One, we're happy to try to help and connect you to resources and be your resource for transportation.
Well, I look forward to working together on stuff like that, because I had one approach me two or 3 weeks ago, and it was a gentleman, and he had an autistic child, and then another family member they needed an accessible van, and he was like, if you know of anything. So I will definitely make that connection with them immediately and just say, hey, this is an option, use it.
One thing I'll say is, Kid One Transport, we try to bring in multiple families together, and typically when we come in from rural areas of the state, we bring in several families. And so one of the keys on that is we don't bring in afternoon appointments with morning appointments, but when you come in and someone has an 8 o'clock, but yours is not to 10, you might have to get there early, but they might have to stay late or wait on you. But we try to make it work with the families, but it's not always the most convenient resource to get you there because of the timing. You might not drive in and walk straight to your appointment.
Right.
However, we will get you to your services. We will get you the health care that you necessarily need and make sure that happens.
I think that's more important than anything. It's just being there and receiving what you need. That's everything I've got. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing everything with us, and thank you again.
Thanks, Lane. I appreciate your opportunity to be with you guys today.
All right. Bye, everyone.